Welcome to the Dental School Guide podcast, your ultimate destination for all things dentistry. I'm Dr. Tanner Townsend, your guide through the complex world of dental education. Join us as we uncover the secrets of acing dental school admissions, navigating residency programs, and exploring career opportunities. Please share and enjoy. Real quick, just wanted to make all you pre-dental students out there aware of a resource. If you've ever been worried about getting into dental school or are wanting to get into that school of your dreams, then you definitely want to check out a program called Dental School Guide. In the program, we walk you through how to save money, time, and heartache when applying to dental school. There's so much fluff out there when it comes to resources for getting into school, and we are streamlining all of that. With our comprehensive digital course, expert mentorship, and personalized application review services, you'll have everything you need to stand out to admission committees. Take advantage of this amazing resource that will help you increase your chances of getting into dental school. You'll want to check out dentalschoolguide.com. Check it out. Welcome back to the Dental School Guide podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tanner Townsend, and today we have Tina with us. And Tina is a D3 at the University of Buffalo. Tina, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
We are super excited to have you here with us today. So Tina is going to fill us in a little bit about the University of Buffalo, what it's like to go to school there way up north, and then also just kind of tips and tricks on getting into dental school. So Tina, tell us a little bit more about yourself. How did you end up at the University of Buffalo?
So I'm actually not from the United States. I'm from Lebanon, Middle East. I moved to America 7 years ago when I was a senior in high school. I went to USC in South Carolina, and I didn't know where to go to dental school. I was like, whatever dental school accepts me due to my international status, I will go. And I actually did not know about Buffalo because I'm all the way from South Carolina. I followed someone on Instagram. His name it was Dental Impressions. And he went to Buffalo. And this is before I created my Instagram. And I was just following him. I'm like, okay, wow, this is the school looks really good on pictures and so on. So I was like, okay, I added it to my list to like all the schools that I applied to. So I had no idea. I knew nothing about Buffalo. And then I interviewed there. And so mind you, by the way, this is like during kind of COVID, all of our interviews were virtual. And you can't just go to Buffalo and visit the city. So I've never seen Buffalo, I've never seen the dental school. And people in the interview were so nice. Although it was one of my hardest interviews because it was all about my research, and I'll talk about that. But they were so nice. They were so welcoming. They wanted to know more about me. And I honestly didn't feel that way with my other interviews. So that's one of the things that really, okay, this is Buffalo. And not only that, compared to the other schools that I was accepted to, Buffalo was very, very lenient with my citizenship status and so on. They were very welcoming with that, and they granted me in-state tuition after my first year, even though
Wow.
I'm under asylum in the United States. So that's one thing that I'm really grateful for Buffalo is that they're very they work with you, which is nice.
Okay. Well, that is super awesome.
Sorry, I put in a lot, but
No, that was excellent. Are you kidding? So you said something super cool there, kind of right at the very end about how they are super kind and they work with you. And I
yes.
think that's something that not a lot of schools, I think schools are kind of trending away from that, unfortunately. But tell us how you ended up getting that in-state tuition and how they worked with you in such a good way.
Yeah. So if you're an international student, they will not give you in-state tuition. You have to be like a resident in the United States, a green card holder. The thing about me, since I'm still pending asylum, I don't have my green card yet, and I don't have my citizenship. So I'm basically in the limbo of like, okay, I don't have this, I don't have that, but I work in the United States. I have all of that. So Buffalo, like I reached out to them. They didn't directly just say no. They're like, okay, what papers do you have? How can we help you? And I just submitted that I live in New York now after the first year. I submitted my license. I submitted my tax returns. I submitted all that, and they basically granted it to me. But with other schools, I remember paying the supplemental fee and just literally getting rejected because I don't have my green card. So this is one thing people should look at, like what schools accept like green card holders or what schools work with you. And I also recommend calling them. And this is what I'm doing also with residency programs. I'm planning on calling every program and seeing like, would you work with me with this? How would you consider me? Am I international? Am I not? So yeah.
I think that is excellent advice because a lot of schools don't accept international students at all. or like you said, they might not work with you. So what are some of the schools that you felt like did a good job besides Buffalo that worked with you or would be willing to work with you with that?
To be honest, all private schools will consider you if you're under asylum, like the states will consider you out of state. They won't consider you international, they'll
Mhm.
consider you out of state. Um, it's kind of hard with public schools. Like, for example, at MUSC, my application didn't even get reviewed because
Yeah.
to them, I was just international. Even though I lived in South Carolina for 6 years, I attended like, I graduated from high school there, went to USC there. But so it depends, but most private schools will, accept you as an out of state. Buffalo accepted me as an out of state even though it was a public school. So that tuition also really helped with that.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
And so do other out-of-state students at Buffalo, are they able to apply after that first year to get in-state tuition?
absolutely. Like,
Okay.
my roommate is out of, state, she's from Florida, she applied for in-state after the first year, got it. There's a lot of out-of-state students in my class actually that did receive the in-state tuition after. It's not a hard process.
That is
Yeah,
great. So that is something that is a lot of schools that has faded away, and that's great that Buffalo's kinda kept that because
yeah.
schools like North Carolina, VCU, I could name a dozen schools off right now that used to do that, that don't do that anymore or make it, like, so challenging that you're like, "It's not even worth it." Like, I'm not even gonna try. So, that is really
Really
cool.
do recommend, like, students looking into that if they are out of state to see what schools give you in-state tuition after, and if they are actually like, talk to the students and see if it's easy, if it's an easy process.
Yeah, and that's what we recommend as well because it's sometimes they perceive it to be easy, and then it's totally something way
Yeah.
more challenging than you expect.
I called them, like, 3 times before I got it. I'm like, "Are you sure I can
Are you
submit?"
sure? Are you sure?
Like, is it? Because 'cause I'm, like, commuting I'm gonna go all the way to New York, to Buffalo, I've never been, and they're like, "Yes." And they were actually so and to this day, I still talk to the people, they're on student missions, I still talk to them. It's so easy to go to their office. I deal with all the pre-dental events at the school with them. They're amazing.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
is awesome. Well, tell us what was your first impression since you weren't able to go see the school with your interview since it was virtual during COVID? What was your first impression when you finally got to Buffalo and you finally got to see the school for the first time?
Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest. I drove with my dad. We drove all the way from South Carolina. It was like a 12-hour drive, and we reached, like, at 4 AM, and I'll be completely honest, the area around the school, he was like, "No, you're changing." I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm committed to the school." I was like, "What do you mean I'm committed to the school?" So the area, it's very different than how we lived in South Carolina, but people are so nice, and
Uh-huh.
the school itself, I mean, it was just renovated, the whole pre-clinic, so that when we started, I'm like, "This" the pre-clinic was just beautiful. Everything was renovated, so clean. So that's one thing, like, the school itself, it's very new, modern, so on. Location around it, I live 5 minutes away from the school, it's, okay, um, but if you move 15 minutes away from the school, you're, like, in a very good location.
Mhm.
So, it depends on where you wanna live too.
Depends on where you wanna live, and I think everyone that's it's totally dependent on, like, your family situation. If you have a wife and kids, you're probably gonna live a little further out.
Yeah,
If you're single and have roommates, you're gonna try to live a little closer. So let's kinda jump into that. I was gonna get into this a little bit later on, but let's hit it right now. How is you said the area is a little bit more questionable right around the school, which is very typical with dental
yeah,
schools. Do you feel safe walking to and from your car, to and from your apartment? And do your classmates feel the same way?
yeah, so, mind you, I commuted when I was an undergrad, so it's my first time living away from my parents. Um, I wasn't scared at all. I would like, first week, my mom was like, "Just be careful, don't go alone."
Uh-huh.
Now I come back from the library at, like, 2 AM. I would just come back alone from the library. Library is also 5 minutes away from school campus. Um, where we all live, most dental students, like, they live here their first year, 2 years, but I love it so much that I'm still here. It's a gated community, only 5 minutes from school. A lot of dental students live here. There's, like, study rooms and so on, and it's gated, so I never feel like,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's a good area, like, in terms of just the living situation. Yeah.
And in terms of, like, housing, you said a lot of people move after the first 2 years out of that
Yes.
area? Okay. Where so it sounds like a ton of students live there, and then where do they move to? And then how much is rent typically cost for that
Okay.
area?
So your first 2 years, we live here, we call it, like, access. Most students live here because everyone wants friends, everyone wants to be together, and
Yeah.
it's just easier for you. This one's like as if it's a two-bedroom or so, it's about like 1,000 per person,
Okay.
but it covers everything, like your electricity, your like network, everything.
Uh-huh.
After your first 2 years, you some people move like 15 minutes away or 20 minutes away, but it's more like a house and you can live with other people, since you've like found friends and so on. So they live in a house and it's way cheaper. I think it's like 500 per person. Um, so yeah,
Well, that's great. Sounds like it's fairly affordable for that, and you said they have study rooms in there and things like that when
dinner,
you're close to the
gym,
library.
clubs.
That's
It's a
great.
nice life here. Yeah.
That's a really awesome in terms of amenities. Now, you said there's a gym there. A lot of times, dental schools will have like gyms associated with the undergrad campus that are nearby or with the medical school campus. Is there like a medical school or dental school gym that's really close to where the school is as well that you guys have access to if you want?
There is one at, like, where the dental school is, there's a gym too, but you have to, like, pay, like, $10 or something for it per semester. There's basketball courts, a lot of like, we have a lot of intramural sports at the school, like, sports club. So with UB, there's, like, a north campus and a south campus. South campus is where the dental school is. There's
Hmm.
also a north campus where most of the undergrads are. There's another gym there, huge basketball court, um, 24-hour library, and there's, like, more than, like, 5 libraries. You could pick and choose whichever you'd like to go and study. So,
Wow, it sounds like you have a
yeah,
plethora of options then, so
yeah,
that's great. Now, in terms of let's kind of get into the nitty-gritty of school real quick. And we're going to take you back to D1 and
okay.
walk us through what D1 year is like. And on most schools, it's very didactic heavy. But how soon do you get into the sim lab and what are you doing during that first year? And what does that look like if you're going there for the first year?
Okay, first week is just orientation week, you get all your goodies, you are in sim lab, this is where they're giving you all your goodies, all the instruments, and they're telling you what each instrument is, and they're helping you organize it into your drawers and so on. That's your first week. Second week, you start drilling in pre-clinic. Um, so we started, like, drilling tabletop, like, circles or on actual teeth, or, like, squares, rectangles, uh, and then the same semester, we start, like, going to the clinical floor, assisting or taking impressions of each other or, like, accent training, all that within your first semester of dental school, and it is very didactic heavy, like, we took gross anatomy, we took biochemistry, we took, histology. Your 2, like, hardest courses usually are gross anatomy and histology. So I know that some dental schools, they no longer, like, have actual cadavers, human cadavers. They, like, have, for example, like, VR of, like, the
Hmm.
different bodies or so on. And some dental schools have it only of, like, oral cavity, like, just head and neck. With us, it's, like, everything from doesn't include lower limbs, but everything from, like, upper limbs and so on. And we still, like, have actual human cadavers, and it's the whole semester. Yeah. It is very didactic heavy your first semester, but at the same time, you are using your handpiece your first, like, second week of dental school, which I think is amazing because I came to dental school with absolutely no hand skills.
Uh-huh.
Um, I knew nothing about, like, dentistry. I only shadowed, never, like, had any experience with my hands, and, yeah, it was hard at first because 'cause I'm like, I some people just learn something that quick, and some people, they need to keep practicing, and that's one thing I am grateful with our school. I You can go in and practice anytime you want.
Yeah, so they have no restrictions on the sim lab of like, hey, the sim lab closes at midnight or anything
It
like that.
does. It does close at midnight just because that's when the security guards are there.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it doesn't, depends on the day, but you'd have to play it right, but sometimes it is not closed, but most of the time it is.
Hmm.
Um, but you never have to worry about, "Oh, this seat is taken because my second year student," because your second year,
You guys
for
share a
students.
desk, I'm assuming, or something like that.
Yes. You share that one you have that desk for 2 years, but you share it with either the D2, or when you're a D2, you share it with a D1. But you have such different schedules that I never, even though I took, like, my friend's, like, number, whoever sat in my seat, I never felt like I had to text her and be like, "Hey, don't go," like, and even though I'm always there, I never felt like we, like,
You never
overlap.
overlapped at all.
No, we never did. Yeah.
That's great. In terms of there are certain schools that make you like they'll give you a set of teeth to practice on for either an assignment or a practical or something like that. And then any teeth that you want to practice on beyond that, you have to purchase. Does Buffalo make you purchase your own teeth? And that was something I was like, when I got to school, I was like, gosh, no one told me I had to buy my own teeth. Like, that's ridiculous.
I
So,
know.
do they make you buy your own teeth, or is it just unlimited supply of teeth, burrs, whatever you want, you get to use and go for it?
Okay, so they in terms of burrs, I felt like I had a lot of burrs, and right now I'm a D like, almost a D4, and I still have a lot of burrs left over. I think they order more than we need for
Hmm.
burrs. Um, for teeth, yes. I practiced a lot, and I felt like I still needed more teeth. You would go and purchase it, but you don't pay for it. You just write that, "Okay, Tina took 5 teeth today. Tina took 10 teeth today."
Oh,
And they say, "Oh, when you graduate, you're gonna have to pay for them." But I don't know if this is a rumor or what. Now I've heard that you don't pay for them. It's just you write it down because they want to limit how many teeth you get. But
oh.
no, I don't think you pay for it. I think they just sit. But I really don't know. It's not 100% confirmed.
Okay. Well, once you get to that point, you'll have to let us know because that
I
was
will
one
let
of
you
the
know.
things I was like, gosh, this is so dumb. Like, why am I having to? We had like a
I
Henry Schein
know.
store in our school, and we'd have to go down and buy
That's
teeth.
amazing.
And so, like, you could go get and order whatever you wanted. So, like, if you had something new you wanted to try out, that was great.
Oh wow.
But like, you like having to go buy practice teeth, I was like, this is just so dumb. Like, I'm paying like $2 a tooth, and it
Yeah,
adds up.
it builds up. Yeah, like it adds up. It adds up. Like I think I've gotten more than 40 teeth, or like
Oh
I've gotten
yeah,
every tooth. But right now I'm almost a D4. I haven't paid a single dollar for it. So are they
awesome.
going to ask me for it? I have no idea. I'll let you know.
So hopefully they don't surprise you with a fat bill at the
'Cause
end.
I don't know how much.
So in terms going back to the first year of school, do you guys every sim is a little different, and usually your first year you're in sim lab a lot less than you are your second year. How often are you in sim lab that first year? And then let's transition into the second year after that. So let's talk to the first year first. How often are you in sim lab? How many days a week and for how long?
Okay, I think it's twice a week. Just from what I remember, twice a week. For 4 hours, like 4 hours, 4 hours, so 8 hours a week. One is your dental anatomy waxing course.
Oh, the
And
good
then
old dental anatomy
I
waxing
know.
courses.
And then the other course is just your basic drilling, whether they teach you how to polish or they teach you how to like drill circles and squares. And then at the end of the course, you have, even though this course specifically is pass fail, our school, by the way, is not pass fail, it's letter grade. But this course and dental anatomy will be pass fail just because
Gotcha.
they want you to like focus on learning how to do the basics at first. But yeah, that's at your first year. You're twice a week.
Gotcha. And so you said right there too, your school's not pass fail. There's probably a few courses that are pass fail. So are you guys on a ranking system as well? Like your class is all ranked and stuff like that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And that's typically how it's, and there's a few schools out there that have moved to pass fail, which is an okay model, but I think it does make it harder if you're going to a residency program,
Right.
like
Yeah.
to differentiate yourself in that regard. All right. Well, tell us a little bit about that second year. Moving into second year, what does the second year look like? You're in sim lab a lot more. What are the things that you're learning during that second year?
I'll be honest with you, my second year was one of the hardest years.
Oh yeah.
Like everyone said D3 year is so hard. So D2 year, I think you're in lab, I think, every day.
Yeah.
Like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like every day you're in lab. Whether it's in the morning or the afternoon. If you're in the morning, then you have didactics in the afternoon. Or you have clinic assisting or doing whatever you're doing. You're basically in every day. And it's a 9 to 5 schedule or 8 to 5. And then that's the problem. You're in 8 to 5 in school, and then you have to go back and practice or do the lab project that
Uh-huh.
although you try to stay on top of everything, it's just not possible. So you're always like in school, let's say till 9 p.m. Like I'd go in and it's like, right? And then
You're
I would
putting
leave.
12-hour days in like every single day, it feels
Yeah,
like.
and then I'm leaving, I'm like, "How is it already dark?" And
Yeah.
you're in there the whole day. So it's just not that it's hard, it's just so mentally draining. I was just tired. Like, although spring semester of D2 was way easier in terms of courses, like oral path and so on, than D2 fall, it's just that you're so tired from D2 fall that you need a break. But it's not hard, it's just tiring. You're
Mhm.
always, like, either practicing, catching up with projects, or studying.
Yeah, it's literally death by volume. Like it's you have so much that you have to like internalize in so many different projects and classes. You're just like, "Oh my gosh, like
Like,
can this
my
can
biggest
this be over, please?"
Agreed. Like my biggest advice is just finding something that actually makes you happy. And a lot of people told me that they're like, Tina, like all you do is just study, practice, or I didn't
Yeah.
do anything for me. So then I'm like, okay, my favorite thing to do is just go out and eat. So like every week, my treat was like, okay, I'm gonna go and to a new restaurant, new local restaurant, and just try it. So just find something that makes you happy. My friend loved playing soccer, so every week she just looked to go play soccer that week. And we have a lot at the school. That's one thing I'll add. Our ASTA does so much in terms of like wellness. They just want something this year for their ASTA wellness. We have therapy dogs like once a month. We have free like
Wow.
um, yoga or free cycling once a month. Um, mental well health days. There's a lot of like, and take advantage of those.
Yeah, I think that is an excellent
Yeah.
advice there because it's so easy to get bogged down and swallowed by school that you have 0 life, and you're like, "What am I living for right now?" Like, you, like, come up for air, and you're like, "I have no life." I
Yeah.
so, yeah, 100% agree with you there. Let's talk a little bit we'll come back to D2 in a moment, but in terms of mental health, a lot of schools are moving towards having counselors on hand or really close to the school to help with the mental rigors. Because, like you said, especially that D2 year, it can be really dark,
Yeah.
like mentally. What do they have in terms of mental health and help that way?
So you get 2 mental health days, no questions asked. You're
Wow.
not gonna come to school. I'm taking a mental health day per semester. And we also have counselors. You can do virtuals if you don't want to go in person. And also we have it here in the school. You can just book an appointment and go and speak to them. Um, what else? And there's a lot of school events just tailored for that. There's like the therapy dogs. That's like my favorite thing.
Yeah.
Or also incorporated in our lab courses with preclinic, what they did our D2 year before, like once a week before the lab course, like our ask the person would just stand up in front of the room in front of all 93 of us and start doing stretching exercises, just breathing in slowly just before we start the day. And I think that helped. Also, the school does a lot of like it funds like once a semester, like just like free food for everyone, like whether it's bagels or a
Oh.
dinner or so on, just like after like during finals because they know that that week is just so hard for everyone. So they do a lot of things, like I'm just naming specific things, but they do a lot of things for the students, and I don't think it gets appreciated a lot because sometimes we you get so stressed with everything in school that you forget all the good that's around you, but there is a lot of good going on at the school.
Mhm. I think that is excellent because there it really is hard to see the good when it feels really dark. So that's excellent that they're trying really hard to make sure to shine a light on, hey, we're really trying to help you out. And that's way cool how they give you 2 mental health days
Yeah,
per
no questions
semester?
asked. And that's besides your personal days off. Like that's just your
Wow.
even if you have clinic, it's just your but of course, if you have a patient, you can't just not show up, like,
Yeah,
if you're a patient. But you still have 2 mental health days, no questions asked. It's your days.
that is really interesting.
Yeah.
I've not heard of that from a school before, so that is really cool. In terms of as we're moving like into D3 year, how is that transition to clinic? Are you in clinic 5 days a week? Are you in clinic 3 days a week? And how does your patient pool work?
Okay, so, currently a 3rd year. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we're in clinic from 9 to 4. You're either in clinic or you have a rotation.
Mhm.
Your rotation could be radiology, it could be oral surgery, it could be, pediatric dentistry where you go to a different campus and you treat kids, or it could be, digital dentistry. Those are rotations besides your clinic days. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's 8 to 4, and it's just lectures, like all day, hour lecture, hour lecture. Um, I thought D3 year was just way easier because I could just focus on my like didactic courses. I didn't have to worry about, okay, I need to go back to lab to do more projects or practice
Uh-huh.
again. Because now you just have, you're in clinic just 9 to 4 and you're done. You have all day to just study. But again, I do think it's easier, my schedule D3 year, just because I don't have a lot of patients my D3 year. Um, I do feel like I've done some things, but I wish I could do more in clinic. Um, we do get assigned patients, but right now it's more of like, okay, we have to help the D4s graduate. So but you don't get any unsatisfactory grades or anything if you haven't completed your requirements for that semester. You don't have to find your own patients though. The school does find you patients and they
Hmm.
assign you patients based on what you need. But right now, the need right now this semester is for the D4s.
Hmm. Getting them across the finish line.
Yeah.
So, in terms of requirements, what are some of the requirements that you have during your third year that they want you to hit? I would assume it's a lot of fillings kind of things, maybe a crown or two, so on and so forth. But what are some of those like specific clinic requirements that your goal is to hit?
Okay, so they like have them under like RVUs of like how many points of like, for example, for fillings, I think we need 160 RVUs total for D3 year. 160 RVUs. For example, two surface filling is like 12 RVUs.
Okay.
So you have to get to 160 RVUs by your D3 year. Same thing with prophies. I think prophies we need like 15 like total prophies. Dentures you need to do like 2 interim dentures, like 2 arches, and then what else do you need for just your D3 year? Fixed, for example, I haven't done a single crown this year.
Hmm.
My last crown was in pre-clinic, and that's one thing I don't like. But in terms of like restore, it just depends on your patient pool. Like some
Yeah,
of my
totally does.
classmates have completely done their fixed requirements. Some of my classmates haven't done the removable requirements. It just depends on where, like, your
What you
patient.
have in terms of your
Exactly.
patients.
Exactly. But honestly, no matter what, you will graduate. And this is something that I've spoken to other dental students from other schools. No matter what dental school you go to, you will graduate. And then I have, yeah, like I'm speaking to the D4s and like everything's okay. So that's one thing. But these are like our requirements. Like it's like your cleanings, you need like 15 cleanings.
Hmm.
You like your dentures, you just need 2 interim dentures. Um, Fillings, crowns, and then for endo, we don't do endo our third year, and your
Hmm.
root canals unless it's a family member. If you do have any family member, it's all yours. They will not take it from you and give it to a D4. But if there is actually a patient in the school that's not your family and it's a root canal, they'll give it to the
They're going to
D4.
give it to a D4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. And
Yeah.
so on your fourth year, how do those requirements work for your fourth year in terms of root canals? How many root canals you need to do? How many teeth you need to take out? And how many crowns you need to do?
There's not a lot of requirement for extractions. I think.
It's just do whatever you got on your schedule kind of thing with your
Yeah.
patient pool.
Yeah, for extractions, there's not a lot. It's you only do it during your oral surgery rotation. You have it once a week. Once a week, um, so twice per year. Your D3 year, you'll do it twice per year, and then your D4 year, you'll do also 2 weeks of like oral surgery and whatever you can extract. For root canals, I think you need to do 2. I'm not 100% sure. I think you do 2 root canals. Crowns 6. Dentures, I think we do 6 total.
Hmm.
Like 1 set of complete upper lower. 1 arch of anything, and then also like 2 RPDs. I'm not sure of specific numbers, but I think 6 total. Yeah, and then
And are you
3 cases. Yeah.
nice? So pretty standard in terms of requirements. Are you guys in once you move to your D4 year? Are you in clinic 5 days a week kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Like,
And do you guys get the opportunity to do external rotations, like where you guys go out to like the community and do like with a public health community clinic or something like that, where you get to go and kind of leave the school and practice and kind of take the training wheels off a little bit?
you can sign up to do those. So I just signed up like last week to go to like the Amish community, for example, or
Cool.
which was pretty cool. Or like there's like it's called like MDU van where we just go the whole day. We travel like 3 hours and then we just do any type of work in that community that we go to. But this is more of like you sign up to do that. But we don't actually have because I know some schools like Tufts they have like external rotations where you go somewhere else. But the only actual external rotation we have is our pediatric clinic. We have some
Hmm.
in the school, the pediatric clinic in the school, and also we rotate in a different like hospital the where the pediatric residents work, and we
Okay.
work with them.
Very
Yeah.
cool. And do you guys have residency programs at your school in terms of, you said you have peds, but are
Yes.
there any other residency programs that are at your school that kind of, they do take some of the work from the dental students potentially, but what are some of those programs that you have at those?
Bad. It's good. It's and this I didn't know it's a good or bad thing. This is something you should look for when you look into dental school. So our dental school has ortho, oral surgery, peds, endo, pros, perio.
They've got
We bas-
everything.
AGD. We have basically everything. And yeah, root canal. So you know the endo app. If anything is more than a certain requirement, they give it to our post grad endo. But that's why I'm saying it's a good and bad thing. One of the reasons I
Hmm.
also chose UB is, yeah, I was committed to general dentistry, but also I didn't know 100% because people told me you will change your mind. I didn't know where I wanted to go. So I was like, okay, then I'm going to go to a program where I can learn about the different programs and also a program that can create a great general dentist. UB has a great reputation in terms of like creating really good general dentists. And that's what I also wanted and I also wanted the opportunity to shadow all those specialties. But you also need to consider that, yes, there are all these specialties. So if it's a case that's extremely hard, they will take it from you. Like if it's a prostate case that's really hard, they will take it from you and you will not work on it. But we do have minors in the school, your fourth year, like an aesthetic minor, a prosthodontic minor, where it's like harder cases that pre-doc wouldn't be able to do in the dental school and they would give it to postgrad, but you would actually work on it hand in hand with the postgrad.
That's awesome. So do you
That's
apply for those minors?
yes.
And can you only have one of them, or can you have multiple of them?
No, you can only do one minor. And they accept 8 students. And our class is 120 something because we were 93 students, and then they added the IDP students our third year, so we're
Hmm.
120 something.
Okay. So yeah, I would imagine some of those are pretty competitive in
Yes.
order to get those minors that you want. And so just keep that in mind. There's a couple other schools that do something very similar where they'll call it like a senior select or like a mini residency program or some of the names that I've heard for them. So that's cool that they offer that as an opportunity. But like you said, the residency programs are very much a double-edged sword. They can be
It's a good or
great
bad.
because
Yeah.
yeah, and it's awesome to go to a resident and be like, "Hey, help me out on this," because they kind of understand a little bit better than a faculty member would in some cases, and you can really pick their brain and get better at something because you have an expert there. But yeah, it does kind of stink when they like poach your case and you're like, "Gosh, dang it, I wanted to do that case." So,
But,
that's
like, I
cool.
mean, seriously though, if we didn't have the pediatric residency program at our school, I would have never known that pediatric dentistry is for me. Like, our senior year, we have a 2-week rotation, and we go into the operating room, we do all of that. Like, if I didn't have any of that experience,
You
I
wouldn't have known.
would have known that I love kids so much. So this is one thing I am grateful for the specialties at our school, and a lot of students do take advantage of that, and they go and shadow them, and you have a lot of, like, networking with the residents at the school too. So again, double-edged sword. So
Totally double-edged sword.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else about the curriculum, about the school in general that you think like, "Hey, this is super unique to Buffalo?"
Um, okay, one thing I learned because I usually go to like pre-dental events and we talk each school talks about themselves. One thing about our school is we don't practice injections on oranges or VR. We actually practice on each other our
Mhm.
first injections, which I thought was very, very helpful. Um, what else is unique about our school? The school wants you to be as involved as possible. We have so many clubs. We even have the ice cream club. We have the running club, where we go and get ice cream together like every 2 weeks. Um, it's also one thing that I don't know if it's the same with other schools. Everyone knows your name. Like
Uh-huh.
it's not and that's what I want. I didn't want something so, so small because again, you're with the same people every day, and I didn't want something so, so big because I talk a lot, I ask a lot of questions, I need help, and they do help you. Like, I'm really close with my faculty at the school. They're very, very helpful. Um, the close relationship we have here with the school is amazing, and the mentorship we have. Anytime you want, you can go to, like, the admissions office, the dean's office, knock on their door and talk to them, and that's one thing I'm very grateful for because I do ask a lot of questions.
Well, that's a good thing that you ask a lot of questions because, like, you're learning it out and
Yeah.
figuring it out for the first time, so that's great. Now, we've kinda talked a little bit about the social, and you just mentioned that with the ice cream socials and things like that that you have frequently. What are some things that moving away from the school portion that students like to do, like, on the weekends and on their free time, when they have free time, to do in Buffalo?
Yeah. So there's like a lot of events of like the Bills games. We do like Bills tailgates when they feed
Oh,
everyone.
man. Are you guys
Which
jumping through flaming tables or those Bills fans are
actually go to the
crazy.
actual tailgate. Yeah, you go to the
Yeah.
actual tailgate, you see the guy with the hot dog, all of the mustard's all over him. It's really fun. And it's funded too. Free food.
Whoa.
Yeah. Now you won't be funded to the game, but sometimes there's like you'd win a free ticket or something from the school. Um What else? You do even though it's like school related, you can go to a lot of conferences. I've been to a lot of conferences that have been funded also by the school, which I'm very grateful for. Fun things, friends go to the bars or go to Canada. Canada's only a few minutes away. Um, what else do we do? Or like skiing. It's beautiful. There's a lot of fun things in Buffalo, a lot of good wings. I mean, Wingnuts was like on Barstool multiple times. If you're ever in Buffalo, definitely check out Wingnuts. Best wings I've ever had. Yeah.
Wow. That's cool. I gotta go try some of those wings then. That
If
sounds
there
that
I've
sounds stinking good.
I wasn't a wings person or even a blue cheese person until I moved to Buffalo.
Until you moved to Buffalo.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the weather for a second. Like, because Buffalo's got that reputation for having heck of snow every year. How is that with going to school? Like, have they ever canceled school because of the snow? Or it's just a part of life there and everyone's just like, all right, we're going to deal with it.
I feel like I can give you an amazing answer just because I lived in Saudi Arabia for
Yeah.
12 years. Like born in Lebanon, lived in Saudi Arabia for 12 years, like a desert. It's very, very hot there. Lived in South Carolina. So I've never seen snow.
Uh huh.
Like, mind you, I've never seen snow until I moved.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, all you need is a good pair of boots and like a good North Face jacket, and that's it.
And you're
Like,
good.
yes, it snows sometimes and it's very cold, but with that jacket and the boots, you are fine. If it does snow so much, they do cancel school. Um, Other than that, I really didn't think it's that bad. Like, they
Yeah.
do cancel school when it's like they will not let, even though it's 5 minutes away, they wouldn't let you leave. And there's a lot of like Buffalo itself does like the warnings or something, like you can't leave your house. They do a lot of those. And because it snows a lot in Buffalo, they're used to like paving like the roads and stuff, so they're good at that, especially at the school.
That's great. So I live in Montana currently, and they are a little cowboy in the fact that they're like, oh, we're not gonna plow the snow until like it stops snowing. So you're just like driving on snowpack all the time, and life just goes on as they go. So it's just kind of a little bit of a different lifestyle, but that's good that they do such a good job at that. All
Yeah, like
right.
I've never seen snow before, so
I'm impressed that you took like you weren't scared of that going to Buffalo. So
I
I
loved
that would
it.
have been one of those things that I was like,
Like
oh
the
my
first time
goodness.
it snowed, I stayed outside for like 3 hours building a snowman. I was
You're like, I gotta have this
like,
experience.
so maybe I have like I'm very biased, but I love Buffalo, and I'm not from here, and it says a lot. Yeah.
That is so cool. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the interview side of things. Let's take you back. And you said you are still have a good relationship with the dean of admissions there currently.
Mhm.
How are interviews different now from when you interviewed a couple years ago?
So mine was virtual. Now they're back to non-virtual. And I help also with the interviews in terms of like, so they interview them, and then I like after you're done with the interview, they give you a tour of the school, and I'm one of the students sometimes that I give you a tour of the school. So your day starts, they give you like a orientation of everything going on. Also our school is like open file. So that's one thing you need to look for with other schools. Some schools are closed file where
Mhm.
they basically know nothing about you, maybe only your personal statement or something, and then they ask you a question. Our school, they've read your application, they know who you are, and now they're going to use your application and ask a lot of it. So know your application like fully. For some reason, so I worked at McDonald's before. Um, my interview was about McDonald's and my research experience, and it's very, very different. With it depends on who interviews you. Like my friend's interview was just very relaxed, like, oh, what do you like to do for fun? Stuff like that. Why dentistry? Mine was more of like, hey, do you know how vitamin B12 affect like
They were like
dentistry?
quizzing you on your research to just
Yeah.
see if you knew
And I
it.
was like, I
Whoa.
have no idea how vitamin B12 relates to dentistry. 'Cause mine wasn't in anything with dentistry, and they're like, "Okay, would you like us to educate you with that?" I'm like, "Yeah, we'll make it as a case study." So he made it as a case study, and he would like, "Okay, you're swallowing the vitamin B12 now, it's in your bloodstream, it's." And then I had to follow, and he would follow up with questions with every single thing. "Okay, so
Whoa.
now what is it doing to your body?" So I'm like the whole interview, I'm like it was questions about, like, vitamin B12, I'm like, "Okay." And then ended the interview with McDonald's, and I thought I didn't get it. I was like, "There's no way I got it." I
You're
didn't
like, I totally blew that.
I was like, there's like it was a case study. The interview was just a case study. But that was just my experience. Like when I told my friends the interview, everyone was like, "What?" And the person who interviewed me, like he one of the nice like I was volunteering with him few weeks ago. Nicest people, and they were nice in the interview. It was just like a case study, and it's just the person who interviewed me was really into research. So it just depends on who's interviewing you.
Hmm.
Also, it's 2-on-1 at Buffalo. There's two people interviewing you. Um, yeah.
I swear sometimes admissions people just get bored reading the same thing over and over again. They're like, "We're gonna spice this one up right here." We're gonna like put this girl on the spot. Like, since I know more about research, we're gonna talk about vitamin B12. So that is so funny that they
So
did that to
I
you.
was freaking out. I was and it, like you had to like listen because it would say like a whole paragraph. You had to listen, and then it would follow up. Basically, did you hear what I said? And I'm
Yeah.
like, wow. But they were so nice because after that, we also had a session with the students. The students tour you at the school. Also, they like bring food for everyone. But just be yourself. Talk to the students. Yeah, that's my biggest advice is just talk a lot. And they do ask us like after we like give you a tour, like, hey, how were the students? Did anyone particular like was there anything weird? But usually we love you all. Yeah.
That is cool. So I think that's a really key thing of being able to have good access to the students. Like if you are interviewing, asking those questions to the students like yourself and saying, "Hey, what is school like? What are the things that we need to the questions that we should be asking?" Because a lot of times being a pre-dental student, you don't really know what questions you should be asking when you go to a
Yeah.
school. You're like, sweet, this place looks awesome." Like and you have no idea
Yeah, yeah.
until you get in there and you're like, "Oh, shoot, I wish I would have known that." Is it like this everywhere? Or is it like just this place? So that's great.
No, I literally had to write down questions like, I Googled what to ask dental schools, like, I had no idea what I'm supposed to
Yeah.
ask. But this is what you should do, go in and, like one question I liked asking after every interview was like, "Is there anything I said today or in my application that you would like me to clarify?" Now, for example, you wouldn't say that to, like, a closed file application because they know absolutely nothing about you, they're just
Yeah.
reading your
It's a
interview
waste of
page.
time.
Exactly.
Oh, no, I think, yeah, asking those questions to both the people that are interviewing and the students is just absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Because then it shows you're a real person as well. I think
Yeah.
it just shows that you're not just trying to memorize like your responses or like planned
Yeah.
responses. And I think schools really try to get away with that. An example is like your vitamin B12 thing. Like, there's no way you could have prepared for that. Like, you were probably totally cold, and there's just zero way that you would have been able to
You want me
be
to give you a
prepared.
hard question that I was asked? Or I don't know if
Okay,
we
yeah,
have
let's
time.
hear it. Yeah, do it. Let's hear
Okay.
it.
Okay, so one of the hard questions I received was, let's say we would accept you right now on the spot, even though someone else has better grades than you, but we are willing to accept you right now on the spot if you commit to working like a community service place of our choice, location after you graduate. Like, but you have to like they choose the place where to work, but
Yeah,
we accept you right now on the spot.
and you have to say, would you do it or not?
Yeah, so right now I'm like, is he actually giving me a position? Am I actually getting accepted? Like, or is it a test? So then I was like, I took it away. I was like, absolutely not. And the fact that you asked me this question says a lot about you and the school and what you stand for. I was like, because a person is supposed to do community service because they want to. You shouldn't
Yeah.
force community service on someone just because they want to accept. I want to do community service because I want to community service. You can't just force it on someone. And that's not a good student to accept if they're just forcing community service on them.
And they're being bribed. They're not doing it because they love it.
Exactly, exactly. As much as I want to go to your school, as much as I want to be with you, I wouldn't want to be forced doing something, whether it's something I want or not. And then he was like, "No, no, you're absolutely right. I just wanted to see what you were gonna say." I was like, "Okay." But yeah, had no idea how to answer that question at first. And I'm like, I didn't know if it was a test. Um, to this day, I don't know if it was a test or I don't know, but I got in.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. So, all right. Well, are there any other tips and tricks that you have for students that are applying to dental school, specifically Buffalo?
Look at the minimum requirements in terms of like if you have anything below a 16, I don't think it's competitive enough just for Buffalo. They usually post the grades, look for a little bit below or a little above, talk to the students in Buffalo. But remember, each one of us, like, I know in my own class, we all have very, very different experiences. So don't just like depend on one person's experience with Buffalo. Talk to all of us. Like, even if you just ask me, don't just depend on me. Talk to other people. We all have different experiences with what we like, what we don't like. Um, Buffalo also likes to show that Like it likes to see students that are involved in like stuff. Like for example, I had absolutely no dental experience, but I reached out to Buffalo. I sent them a letter of interest because I'm like, why are they going to accept this girl from South Carolina who like with Buffalo? I before my interview, I sent them a letter of interest, and on my Instagram, I go over like how to write a letter of interest and the actual letter I sent to Buffalo, and I told them like I'm really interested in your school. I would love an interview. Blah blah blah. They gave me an interview, and from there, that's how I fell in love with the school. But they love things like that. They love, like, these letters. They love you reaching out,
They
but don't,
love
like,
the
call them.
communication and the touch
Yes,
points.
yes. I know some schools hate, like not hate, just dislike you calling them every day. Of course, don't call Buffalo, like, every day. Admissions would, like, go after me right now, like, don't call them every day. But, yeah, show your interest or talk to the students and show your interest. Um we have a lot of like pre-dental days, open house days. We recognize faces. We recognize like I volunteered at every single one of the open houses we had at the school in the pre-dental days. And a student just got accepted D1 and I recognized his face. I'm like, oh, he literally attended every single open house. We write your names. So definitely reach out, follow our pre-dental page for UB. These things really help. Yeah.
That is awesome advice. All right. Well, that is it for today on the Dental School Guide podcast. Tina, thank you once again for coming on. It has been
For
awesome to
having
get to
me.
know you a little bit better, and you've provided some great advice and filled us in on Buffalo.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. We will talk to you guys later. Have a good one.
Thank you.
That's all for today's episode of the Dental School Guide podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey into dentistry. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more expert advice, inside tips, and engaging discussions. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. It would mean the world to us. Until next time, keep smiling, keep striving, and remember, your dental dreams are closer than you think. Thanks for tuning in to the Dental School Guide podcast.